At a specific desert crossroads in Nevada, travelers can check into a motel built in 1985. The rooms are crowded with 6,500 condos, and the entire property sits directly next to a cemetery. In a small town in New York, residents attempting to plant backyard vegetable gardens routinely strike massive deposits of scrap leather buried in the soil. Then there is the high school in Ohio, where the official mascot is an anthropomorphic 6-foot-tall pottery kiln with a face and feet. And in Illinois, a shopping mall was rented out and gutted to film the famous car chase scene for the Blues Brothers in 1979. The production crew moved on, but the wreckage of that chase remained for 30 years. In each of these places, the basic infrastructure remains largely intact. The roads still work and the buildings still stand. It feels like a party where everyone left at once and no one ever returned to clean up. These anomalies serve as the physical debris of a sudden, permanent stop. They are the artifacts of towns where the economic clock broke mid-sentence. Most 1980s nostalgia is a curated choice, a visit to a retro arcade or a vintage-themed diner. But for these communities, the 1980s wasn't a choice. They got stuck mid-decade and never found a way back to the present. This chart tracks Youngstown, Ohio's population. While the national average climbed, Youngstown took a 65% nosedive as primary employers vanished in the single generation. As the population crashed, the local economy stalled. Today, 40% of remaining residents live below the poverty line. With no new construction to replace the old, the median age of the housing stock now predates the invention of rock and roll. Locals often identify the exact moment the momentum stopped. In 1984, the beloved Idora Park amusement park caught fire during a welder's lunch break. For Youngstown, that afternoon feels like the moment the town's calendar app crashed and never rebooted. This wasn't a gradual fade. These economic lifelines were severed abruptly, creating populated time capsules of Rust Belt trauma. A decline so visible it became the subject of national musical documentation. To understand these frozen landscapes, we have to look at the company town. This was a model where a single corporation builds, owns, and controls the entire local ecosystem. U.S. Steel created Gary, Indiana in 1906, naming it after the company chairman. But as the steel industry shifted, the company's withdrawal left 10,000 buildings standing vacant across the city. The city today exists in a state of sharp contrast. It is the birthplace of Michael Jackson, one of the biggest pop stars in history, yet it struggles to sustain a single functioning grocery store. In Lynch, Kentucky, a town built by U.S. Coal and Coke, the sale of the mines triggered a 93% population collapse. Italian stonemasons built the company's stores and bathhouses here from local sandstone, intending for them to last centuries. Now, with the town unable to even afford 5 city employees, nature is reclaiming the masonry. When a community is tied to the balance sheet of a single benefactor, its existence is only as secure as the company's quarterly earnings. Other towns were frozen by external shocks. Gloversville, New York, was once the global center of glove manufacturing, producing 90% of the gloves sold in America. The 1972 Clean Water Act introduced strict federal environmental oversight. It required local tanneries to install million-dollar wastewater treatment systems, an expense many of the aging factories could not afford. Before the law, the local creek would change color daily from industrial dyes, foaming into sudsy crests 10 feet high. The regulation ended the pollution, but it also bankrupted the industry. Pampa, Texas faced a different macroeconomic shock when oil prices crashed to $10 a barrel in 1986. The resulting loss of tax revenue left the city unable to maintain basic services. They stopped paving the downtown streets, leaving the original 1920s brick exposed for the next 40 years. Whether through environmental mandates or global commodity crashes, these single-industry economies can be deleted almost overnight. The final blow arrived in the 1990s. Martinsville, Virginia, had been known for decades as the sweatshirt capital of the world. Globalization made domestic textiles unsustainable. As factories shuttered one by one, the town lost 9,000 jobs, briefly pushing unemployment to double the state average. With the factories gone, Martinsville's remaining national connection is its NASCAR speedway. The empty, renamed malls in these towns stand as reminders of a time when they were thriving commercial hubs, supported by a workforce that has since been displaced. Globalization didn't just move jobs, it removed the entire economic architecture that allowed these towns to function. These three forces, corporate withdrawal, policy shocks, and globalization, turned flourishing towns into populated time capsules. They didn't decline, they were abandoned. These aren't empty ruins for urban explorers. They are functioning communities where people still live, work, and raise families amid decaying infrastructure and persistent poverty. Residents here live in the aftermath of a boom that ended 40 years ago, surrounded by the rotting monuments of their own industrial history. This is the logic of a disposable economy. When a corporation or a market decides a zip code is no longer profitable, that entire community is effectively discarded from the national ledger. Traditional time capsules are buried on purpose, but America's most permanent time capsules were created by accident, on the day the money decided to walk away.